Yes.
Hare Krishna, Anshuman, so happy to be with you once again.
Good evening, sir. Hare Krishna. How
Good
are you?
evening. I'm good. How are you?
I'm much better, sir. Much better. By God's grace. Yeah. I have been even better because I finished reading your book. In fact,
That's
I finished all of them now.
I'm very, very happy to see that your enthusiasm and your desire to read is so amazing and so intense.
No, it's good that I found your books because I don't know if I would have ever read the Ramayan with such fervor. If I told you the first time I met you that I enjoyed the Mahabharat more as a kid. So I never
Right.
really, and that's what I keep telling everyone. Hi Raghav, hi Chandu, everyone joining in. We are here today to discuss Shubha Vilas' sixth book of the Ramayan Game of Life series. It's called Think Big to Win. It's a translation of the Yuddhakand, which is the sixth book by Valmiki in the Ramayan series. And we'll discuss the whole series, but yeah, we'll focus. I have a bunch of questions, sorry, from this book. And if you guys have any questions, please fire in. So, sir, if it's okay, I'll quickly jump into it.
Please, I'm
Yeah.
happy to discuss anything you would like to discuss.
So now, what I really wanted to ask you was, I wanted to go each book. We'll quickly go through. Book one said, "Roar with courage." What was the, and I find this the most interesting thing about each book, the title. So the first one was "Roar with Courage." Why did you call the first one "Roar with Courage"?
The reason, Anshuman, you should show the cover of the first book so people
Yeah.
will understand the context.
Yeah.
So the first book, this book called Roar with Courage, the reason the title is chosen in this way is because that particular book. Oh no, Anshuman, I would like to see you. So the reason that book is titled as Roar with Courage is because this book talks about the training of Ram to in becoming somebody very powerful and very courageous.
Right.
Courage is defined by in many ways. One of the greatest courage is to step out of your comfort zone and go into a territory which is not yours
Right.
and perform there.
Right.
So the idea of Ram actually leaving Ayodhya, traveling to Dushamitra Muni and finding himself is what this book is about. And therefore this book is called Roar with Courage because it actually talks about a human potential of growth. And only a good teacher can help us find that potential in ourselves. So this Roar with Courage is actually a message for us in getting out of our comfort zones and finding our true potentials.
Yeah. Sometimes I do feel so comfort is the enemy, and to growth. I mean,
Absolutely.
it restricts. So, like the journey started with Roar with Courage, turning bad into good. Then we came to book two, which was Conquer Change. Why did you call this one Conquer Change?
This book is technically the Ayodhya Kand of the Ramayan.
Yes.
This book is about all sorts of internal challenges that come in a family, in an organization,
Right.
where there is so much of chaos. There is so much of change that is happening at many levels. And when change happens, a lot of people lose themselves.
Yeah.
Either people are rigid, not wanting any change to happen, or when change happens, they just don't know how to handle it.
Right.
This book is all about thriving in chaos. When change happens, how do you flow along with the change and yet remain rigid and powerfully stuck to your principles that you hold dear?
Right. And then came book three, sir, which was Adopt Patience. So if you could tell us, why was this called Adopt Patience, building trust and gaining trust?
This book is about the forest. Ram,
Correct.
Sita, Lakshman spending 13 years in the forest, the Aranya Kand of the Ramayana.
Yes.
The forest tests your patience because technically the palace represents a place where everything is comfortable, everything is sorted, everything is arranged, everything is in control.
Right.
And the forest represents completely out of control. You have no control over things, you have no say over anything, and you have absolutely no idea what will happen the next moment. To survive in an environment which is not in your control requires a lot of patience. And therefore that book is called Adopt Patience.
So book 4, which said, stand strong.
This book is the Kishkinda Kanda of the Ramayan. This book is about loss. This book is about how a human being deals with losses in life. Usually, especially when Ram loses Sita, Ravan kidnaps her, and Sugriv loses Ruma, his wife, Vali kidnaps her.
Right.
Both of them are in a situation which is very similar. And Sugriv, he is collapsed. He just gives up. He's almost losing hope in life. And Ram, even though he's collapsed, he's very, very vulnerable at this point in time, but he doesn't give up.
Right.
And Stand Strong is about Hanuman, who is entering into the life of Ram and Sugriva and bringing them together.
Yeah.
And showing both of them how one should stand strong during such situations of life. And Stand Strong also is about supporting one another.
Yeah.
It's sometimes very difficult to stand strong on your own. But when you get support, when you get someone who is there for you, when you get a group of friends that are there for you, difficulties become easier to handle. And that's what Stand Strong is all about.
Absolutely, sir. And then my favorite of all the 6, which I've read twice and read parts of it more than that, book 5, which is Radiate Confidence, the Sundarkand.
This is the best of the 5, of the 6. This is called Radiate Confidence simply because of one person.
Yes.
The entire book revolves around one person, that is Hanumanji. He's like practically from the beginning to the end. The entire Sundarkand happens in just 2 days.
Yes.
The entire book is just 2 days of the entire Ramayan story. And this book is about, usually you are confident in your area, right? In your area of expertise, in your, place of work, in your field of action, you're very confident. But how do you radiate confidence in a place which is not your own, which is the enemy territory, Yeah. I mean, imagine India going to Pakistan and showing full confidence. So that is the whole context of Radiate Confidence. Is about it's not about cricket. It's not about it's about the game of life, right? So in a game of cricket where everything, you're in a secure atmosphere, you can show confidence anywhere. But in an insecure atmosphere, when you have no control, when you have no say over there, and there you stand confidently, that requires a lot of inner substance. Radiate Confidence is a book about inner substance. Radiate Confidence is a book that talks to you about how you can be confident while accomplishing a project.
Right. And that is what I find the most fascinating thing about your rendition of the Ramayan, sir, that it's so, it's very palatable, and B, it's so, you can draw parallels to practical life situations, which is what makes them so accessible and such fun reads, actually, in addition to giving us such important lessons. And now we come to the 6th one, the latest one. Thank you so much for this. We all waited and waited for the 6th book, which is the Yuddhakand, Think Big to Win. And it says, dare to transform your life. Why did you name, and this is a genuine question, sir, of all the titles, this is the one title that I really wanted to ask you. What was the real meaning behind calling it Think Big to Win?
So this is the Yuddhakand of the Ramayan.
Yes.
And naturally it is a section where we're talking about the fight. The fight between Ram and Ravan, the entire Vanara army fighting against the Rakshasa army. If you look at the cover itself, the cover has a slight answer to your question. There is a Ram who is small in size, and there's a Ravan who is big in size. Hey, this could represent Ravan, this could represent Kumbhakarna also.
Correct.
So the Ram represents us, people like us who are trying to do a lot but may seem unequipped, may seem small in comparison to the enemy that we are fighting, in comparison to the demons that we are fighting. All of us are on our own fights, right? We are all having life is a fight. Life is not easy. Life is always difficult. Life is always a challenge. Life is tough.
Yeah.
So when you are in the difficult situations of life, when you're fighting, that's the time size matters. But more important than size is strength of the heart, is confidence that radiates from within you.
Yep.
It's your thinking that matters more than your size. The Vanara Sena was totally unequipped, unsophisticated, very, very weak externally, and unequipped in every possible way, untrained, but yet they were roaring. It is explained that the Vanaras were roaring like lions. And the same thing is not there on the side of the Rakshasas. They were not having that confidence that the Vanaras had. Though they were more equipped, they were more in number. It was their kingdom. It was their strategy. It was their field.
Yeah.
But the confidence that the Vanaras had was very different.
Yeah.
And the reason they had that kind of confidence was simply that their purpose was right. The Rakshasas, no matter how much strength they had, somewhere at the back of their mind, they all knew that we are on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Somewhere at the back of the mind, they all have this feeling that we have done something wrong, or at least we are on the side of the person that has done something wrong. That confidence comes when you are doing the right thing in life. And that confidence comes when you're standing behind the right person.
Right. So there's a line, if I'm not mistaken, in the 6th book, which you have beautifully written. I may not remember it correctly, but it said the difference between Ram and Ravan is that Ravan had speed, Ram had speed with direction. Right?
Absolutely.
That kind of goes down to the army also, right? Then your followers also have a direction, and therefore, I guess So, sir, the think big to win was in relation to being big from inside and not just physically being big.
Yeah. It's about mentally being big. It's about mental growth. It's about mental expansion. It's about expanding the horizons of your thinking, and because everything is a result of your thoughts, right?
Right.
And what you do is first manifested in your mind as a desire, as a thought, and then it transforms into words and actions. So unless you have internally thought that you want to do something big in life, because a lot of people give up in the thinking itself.
Yep.
That's why they never end up achieving anything big.
Yep.
Most of the loss that happens in the world, it's in the mind itself. Let me tell you something interesting. When in the jungles, there is a very interesting law that works in the jungles. When a lion hunts, 70% of the time, lion fails in its hunt. 70% of the time, the lion fails in its hunt.
Wow.
But still, the lion doesn't give up. So imagine if the king of the jungle, the most powerful animal, fails 70% of the times. The difference between human beings and animals is that they don't think of the 70% that they have failed. We get stuck in these, wasted efforts. It's called the law of wasted efforts. Yeah. We get stuck in the wasted effort, thinking that I didn't do it, I didn't win, I didn't succeed, I didn't achieve, and we're crying and crying and crying. But the lions and the jungle animals, they don't care for that, what they have failed. They just keep trying. That's the difference between animals and humans.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, so I found the entire 6th book, just the way you structured, I found it very, it absorbs into you if you read it with some amount of focus. And it's something I wanted to ask you. that Valmiki's Ramayana was 4,000 verses into 6 books, right? That's
24,000 verses.
yeah. So 4,000
Oh,
per.
right. Okay.
So 24,000.
Correct.
So
Correct.
how close in terms of I know, and because I know you and I hear your lectures, I know that the stories are all from the historical aspect of things. But how close are the Sanskrit verse structure to the way you've uh, sorry, written the book chapter wise? As in, is there a difference for our audience to know, or is this how the structuring is there in Valmiki's version in the Sanskrit original?
So some aspects I have made some changes, not from the point of view of content, but from the
Right.
point of view of placement. You know, like
Right.
for example, I've introduced Ravan and his people right in the first book itself. You know, so there is
Right.
no mention of Ravan, in the Ramayan, in the Valmiki Ramayan till the end. But I introduced Ravan and his brothers in the first book itself because if I want to really take the understanding of what Ram's personality is to another level from the first book itself, I
Right.
need to know what he is fighting against, the kind
Right.
of people that he's fighting against. So I've introduced a chapter that talks about the different aspects of these brothers in the first chapter itself, first book
Right.
itself. The
Right.
second book, again, I bring in Ravan.
Yeah.
I bring in another aspect of Ravan's personality, his mindset, it's another backstory, which is actually there in the Uttarakhand of the Ramayana, which is in the seventh book, which is technically the seventh
Yeah.
book of Valmiki. So
Are you going to be writing? Are you going to be putting that out as well?
yeah. So what I'll be doing is I plan to write the seventh book, which is not going to be part of the series, but it will be a standalone, a sequel to the Ramayan series, which will be specifically the Uttarakhand, dealing with all the controversial sections of the Ramayan,
Right.
and it will be a more philosophical book.
Nice.
It'll be a more, not exactly storyline, because
Yeah.
Uttarakhand doesn't. It's not a structured story. It's more of different stories which are happened at different times put
You said
together.
it's
Basically,
philosophy. It's more philosophy.
it's more philosophical. So I need to deal with it more philosophically.
Right. I'll just say hi, Pallavi. Hi, Praddy. Hi, Ranjit. Thank you for joining us. We are discussing Sir's sixth book of the Ramayana called Think Big to Win, which is the Yudh Kand. So I had a few questions, very specific ones, which I wanted to ask you, because in the book you've just touched them briefly, but I was curious to know more. One is that you say Lord Ram took special care of dealing with Mother Kaikai after he got back at the end of this book. It's
Right.
mentioned in a couple of lines. What do you mean? I mean, in what way? Because it speaks that's the greatness of God, I guess, that he has the heart to not focus on the person's bad actions. But I just wanted to know, how did he take, what is there a mention in Valmiki's Ramayana as to what he did to deal with her? Because she must have been so embarrassed and guilty, right?
Yeah. Yes. So the way I understand it is like this. There is no very clear mention in the Valmiki Ramayana about how he dealt with her, but there is definitely a mention that he dealt with her sensitively. So the way
Right.
I understand it is two things help in dealing sensitively, especially in situations like this where someone has hurt you and you want to be still careful, sensitive towards that person. There are
Right.
two ways you can be sensitive. One
Right.
is verbal communication, the second is non-verbal communication. So every time Ram spoke about Kaikeyi, he addressed her before he addressed his own mother Kaushalya. So
Right.
when you take the name of your seniors, your mother, you usually take the name of your mother first, obviously, out of respect.
Right.
But Ram always took the name of Kaikeyi first, which actually showed that he respected her more, much more. And the second thing that Ram did was in his actions, he made sure that he was very respectful to her in dealings, like touching her feet, taking a little extra care in his dealings with her, and things like that. So that is the way in which Ram took a little extra care in dealing with Kaikeyi. Usually, when we want to be sensitive towards people who have hurt us, it is very important to remember that sensitivity towards people who have hurt us has to be done very genuinely. It can't be done artificially. Because if you do it artificially, it will reflect in your gestures. It will reflect in your non-verbal communication. So that is why there has to be an alignment between what you speak and what you do, the way you show, the way you project yourself. And that alignment is what Ram brought in.
Sir, thank you for that. The second question I had was, and this is a very popular topic of conversation amongst critics, especially of the Ramayana, and that's why I want to bring this up, because most people don't know the full version of it, but still like to talk about this one thing, which is the whole Agni Pariksha bit at the end. So the Sita coming out of Agni, the real Sita coming out of Agni version, about the whole idea of Vedavati being there with Ravan. Why aren't more and more people aware of it? Why don't a lot of people know about the fact that why didn't Lord Ram look at her at first? Mostly people end up criticizing that whole action, when the fact is that he didn't even ask her to walk on fire. It was her herself who chose to do it and prove it. And behind that also there is a reason. So why is it that this story isn't out? And if you could tell us a little about it.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing up this question, Anshuman. So let me just quickly tell people who are unaware of the story first, and then I'll explain what the thought process behind it is. So there is a book known as Kurma Puran, which brings the story. It is not a part of the Valmiki Ramayan, but it is in the Kurma Puran. So usually the way the Vedic scriptures are, they are all interconnected.
Right.
So it's the technical word for this is known as cross-referencing.
Right.
So anything that you want to get from one particular scripture, it is always cross-referenced with other scriptures. That is how all the Vedic scriptures are interconnected to each other.
And so
if anybody is...
Sorry, I'm finding this, sorry to cut you, where between the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita also you see there's so much cross-referencing between them. So I totally understand what you're trying to say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is how all the Vedic scriptures are. Any Vedic scripture, there will be cross-referencing. So now, why is there a cross-referencing? There is a very specific reason for that. The reason is because Valmiki, his Ramayan, is very specifically written in a style where it projects Ram's human aspect.
Right.
So anything that has even a tinge of divine aspect, Valmiki keeps it aside consciously. So the story of Mayasita, the story is this, that there's a lady named Vedavati who wanted to get married to Lord Vishnu, and Ravan finds her meditating on a mountain, and he actually tries to kidnap her and molest her. So Vedavati somehow saves herself from Ravan. She self-immolates herself, and she takes a vow that I will come back to destroy you. So she technically reaches the abode of Agni, and when when Ram goes to chase behind the golden deer, when Ram is actually trying to chase the golden deer and get it for Sita, before he goes, he actually hands over Sita to Agni for protection, and then he goes. So Agni takes the original Sita and brings out Vedavati. And Vedavati is also known as Mayasita in the Kurma Puran. And that is the Mayasita that Ravan kidnaps. So the 10 months that Sita was in Lanka, it was Mayasita specifically.
Yeah.
And the reason Ram didn't look at her at all was because she was not his wife.
Yeah.
Technically. And Ram had taken Ekapatni Vrata. And because she was not his wife, he didn't even look at her. And she chose to go into and she became the cause of Ravan's death, as she had promised, right?
Yeah.
And she chose to go back to the abode of Agni so that the original Sita can come back. And that is the whole story. So the moment original Sita comes back, Ram's behavior towards her changes completely. He interacts with her with great love. He starts crying, and he has great affection for her. So why the reason why it is not put in the Valmiki Ramayana, because that is not the context of the Valmiki Ramayana. The Valmiki Ramayana doesn't get into a divine element at all. It doesn't go into the divine aspects. It's straight away getting into the human aspect.
Because it's very interesting, sir, how a lot of people and a lot of scholars, so to speak, I find that word also a little disturbingly used these days, because I don't know who's a scholar now, considering that everybody, there's just such a vast ocean that you need to know. For example, when you talk about the Quran, I don't know how many people who've read the Ramayana also have cross-referenced that book, because it's imperative that you read that book to understand all the referencing in the Ramayana. And it takes a lot of time, I'm sure. So the problem is, my mom used to always say, Ardhvitya Shaitan ka ghar. So I think that's a fundamental problem with, because people are so critical of that whole aspect of why did Ram ask Sita to walk on fire when he didn't. I mean, it's not even written.
Absolutely.
So it's something that I wanted to bring out, so that you tell this lovely story, and so that people hopefully get curious and pick up this book. Please read it. It's the 6th book of the Ramayana. I'll say please read all 6. So last question from this book which I had. Lord Ram had, taken Vibhishan as his 6th brother, right? When Vibhishan had come and joined him at the beach.
Actually, 7th.
A 7th brother.
Vibhishan is 7th, yeah.
Right. But at the end of this book, he's not introduced Vibhishan as a brother. So is there a reason when he introduces it to Bharat and everyone else, he only respectfully introduces Vibhishan? So is there a reason why he doesn't call him a brother once he reaches back to Ayodhya? Or is it something that he just lovingly does?
Yeah. So basically, this, there are 2 aspects to a human being, One is a very personal aspect, and then one is an official aspect to a human being,
Right.
So usually, I may have a very strong loving bond towards somebody.
Right.
But that is very personal to me. When I meet the same person in an official setting, I don't exhibit that personal bond. Of course, the love is always there. It's not that it's not there. But everyone won't understand it. Everyone may not appreciate it, because that is their limitation. It's not my limitation, it's their limitation. So when I am meeting in a public forum, I carry myself in a particular way, which is not wrong at all. In fact, it brings greater dignity to the relationship.
Right.
So I think that is my understanding.
That's something to learn, sir, because it can easily be misconstrued. People behave differently and give it a very selfish sort of reason.
Correct.
Whereas the motivation has to always come from goodness, I guess.
Correct.
If you're okay with it, I'd love to open the forum if anyone has any questions. Absolutely. About these books. Or, hi Vicky, hi Megha. Thank you so much for joining, all you guys. Thank you. We're discussing Sir's 6th book in the Ramayan Game of Life series, which is the Yuddha Kand, which says think big to win. I just finished it 3 days ago, and I highly recommend the whole series. So if anyone has any questions, please fire away. Let's see. Hi Ritik, you've said please try to solve my doubt. If you'll tell us, if you'll just explain your doubt again, then I'm sure sir will have an answer. Hi Neeti. Ritik, if you can tell us your doubt again, sir will happily see it. I'm sorry it's gone Akash says, sir, how to achieve everything we want in life despite our opponents who do not want us to.
The idea of wanting to achieve things in life and the idea of having to face opposition, opposition is very important, because only then you understand your true value.
Yeah, yeah.
Only in face of strong opposition can a powerful hero emerge. Imagine, if the villain was like useless, why would you watch a movie? You need a extremely terrific villain to be able to find, any greatness in a hero. Similarly, when you have opposition, remember, it is a chance for you to prove yourself. So don't look at opposition as your enemy. In fact, that is your greatest strength, and it is actually your greatest opportunity. So my suggestion is, the way you deal with opposition is, first, stop looking at it as a threat.
Yeah.
Look at it as an opportunity. And then the way you look at opposition will change completely.
Yeah. Always, they motivate you. Like, it's been my thing, sir, since I was a kid. It just motivates, spurs you a little more, because I feel if you take it in a positive stride, then it only empowers you. And eventually some of those people become your friends too. Like, it's funny how the world
Absolutely.
moves.
Absolutely.
So Akhila Siddhana has a question that if Sita is Mayasita, then why did Ram send her to the ashram?
So Siddhana, the idea is, Ram did not send Mayasita to the ashram. Mayasita went into the fire during the Agni Pariksha, and the original Sita came back. So whatever happened after returning back to Ayodhya is with the original Sita only. It's not Mayasita. So that's a different story, the different context completely. So if any of you all want to hear about the whole reason behind the banishment of Sita and all that, I have done an entire podcast on this. In fact, I have 12 reasons why Sita was the whole banishment of Sita, how you can look at it from 12 different perspectives. So you can just go up to my Instagram account and you'll find a podcast post which actually talks about this. And you are most welcome to hear that podcast. You can search for my name on Spotify and you'll find that also.
Sir, in fact, if I may request you, you should story that particular podcast after we end this live and tag me. I will also share it on my story. So anybody who wants to listen to it can just go on our story and click on it and listen to the podcast.
Superb. I'll do that immediately.
Then there is a question, sir, which is from Valentina, which is how to deal with people who are determined to hate you. How to deal with it day in and day out. That's a strong word, Valentina. Hate is a strong word.
Okay.
So,
sorry. Just give me a second.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Yeah. So, Valentina, right? That's her name?
Yeah. Valentina asked this question.
So, the way I look at it is like this. If you are constantly facing hatred, constantly having to deal with people who are, throwing hatred towards you, it is difficult to live a life of stability and peace. So, yes, we need to deal with that hatred. But before you deal with that hatred, first, my suggestion to you is, look for some people who can give you unconditional love. Because that is where you will get your strength to deal with hatred from. If you do not have anyone in your life that is giving you unconditional love, by yourself, it will be very difficult for you to deal with hatred on a constant basis. So my suggestion is, when you are in a situation where you cannot pull yourself out, please try to at least have one or two people around you in your life who can actually invest love in this relationship. And that energy, that strength, that power, that positive vibration is what will give you the strength to deal with all the hatred that you're experiencing. Of course. Also remember just one more thing, that anyone who is showing hatred towards you, unless and until a person is neurotic, having a psychiatric issue, you will not find a person hating without a reason. There will always be some reason because of which emotions are coming out, the way the expressions are coming out, which seem like hatred. Try to find out what is triggering that hatred. Is it envy? Is it some action that you have done? Is it the way you behave? Is there something, some truth in that person who is throwing hatred towards you? If there is, maybe you should work on yourself also. And if there is not, then maybe you should pray for that person to find peace. Because everyone who hates another person, that person is not peaceful inside. Remember that. Hating is not easy. Hating is not normal. And hating is not happy. It's not a happy situation. I hate somebody and I'm happy. That's not possible at all. Therefore, these are 3 suggestions that I have that probably will help you.
Sir, I just discovered, I'm sorry, there are a host of questions there is a I didn't know that. So there are lots of questions there. Ritik is asking, I have a doubt. Who is superior, Lord Arjuna or Lord Karna? So it's one of my favorite topics, but I'll let you answer it in your expert manner, crisp manner, so that we can take some of these questions.
Okay. Thank you, Ritik, for the question. Expertise is at 2 levels. One is expertise in skills. The second is expertise in attitude. Someone may be very expert in skill. See, it's when you have great skill, you should also know how to use that skill, right? Like you might find a terrorist who has excellent skills in shooting, rifle shooting. But do you give a terrorist Olympic medal for always hitting target bang on? It's not just about talent, it's about how you use the talent. How much beneficial is your talent to the world? Yep. So from a skill point of view, Karna and Arjun were probably equal. You can even say Karna was better than Arjun, but that's not enough in our life. What you really need to ask is, what is the skill being used for? If the skill is being used for siding a person who is absolutely wrong, following the path of adharma, that skill actually is dangerous. In fact, people who have great skill but are using it for the wrong purpose, they are more dangerous to society than people who have no skill. So that is my understanding of the difference between the two.
The two
superiority is more about use of your skill rather than just having the skill, exhibition of the skill.
Sir, Vikash wants to know, I'm sorry to hear this, Vikash. Vikash has lost his father a few months ago, and he's angry with himself for not being able to save him. He's asking.
You have lost your father and praying very intensely for your departed father. Remember one thing, Vikas. There are 2 things that are not in our hands at all: birth and death. Everything else in between may be in our hands. We may have a small level of control over everything else in between. But these are 2 things that we have no control of. We have no control of birth, we have no control of death. Yes, we should serve and we should try to help people who are connected to us in the best possible way so that we can avoid inconvenience and pain. But at the same time, we should remember that we are simple human beings. We are not gods. We are not powerhouses that can solve all problems in this world. There is no Superman, Superwoman, Spider-Man in real in this world. We're all humans with defects, with frailties, with shortcomings. The only thing that we can do is try. If you have tried sincerely, I think that's good enough. Please do not blame yourself. My suggestion to you is that at this difficult juncture of your life, you should express gratitude towards your father for everything he has done for you. Repent for the mistakes that you have done, but more than anything else, remember that the greatest happiness that your father will receive wherever he is today is seeing you grateful, seeing you prayerful, and seeing you trying to serve in the best possible way. And if you can follow and imbibe the values that your father has taught you, that's the best thing that you can do for your father.
Thank you for that, sir. Sir, Vikash, I hope that answers somewhat that what you asked. Sir, Gaurav says, isn't it unfair that sinful persons get liberated by the Lord, whereas devotees face a lot of problems in life?
Thank you, Gaurav, for the question. The fact is that God is equal to everyone. It's not just sinful or devotees, he's equal to everyone. Why? Because God sees all of us as his children. And for a father, the naughty child and the good child, both are equal, right? The father doesn't discriminate between the naughty child and not so naughty child. For the father, all are equal. In fact, the father gives more attention to the naughty child because the naughty child needs more attention. The naughty child needs more attention for improvement, right? So when you find that, the Lord is giving attention to the demons, remember, they need help. They need extra help from him. And the responsible children, sometimes they might feel, what is this? I'm not getting as much help from my father as much as the naughty child is getting. But a responsible child is supposed to understand the difficulties of the naughty child. And when the father gives a little more attention to the naughty child, it doesn't mean that the father loves you less. It simply means that the father trusts you so much that he trusts you to take care of yourself. And he focuses on those who really need his attention to upgrade.
Right. I hope that answers. Thank you, Kaushik. Thank you, Kaushik. Sir, Neeti is asking, why does it happen that if you love any human easily, why is it difficult to cultivate the love for God in spite of desiring it?
So, reciprocation is easy to experience when there is a human being in front of you. And usually human beings can either let you down or reciprocate wonderfully with you. But when it comes to connecting, reciprocation that you can see immediately, you can't. It's intangible, right? And therefore, because it is intangible, it requires a great amount of faith to experience that love. But how do we experience God's love? God's love cannot be experienced unless there is gratitude in the heart. Gratitude helps you see the presence of God everywhere in your life, around you. Someone who is grateful has many reasons to be grateful.
Yeah.
And someone who is not grateful doesn't find a single reason to be not grateful. To be grateful. They're always complaining, always criticizing, always bickering about something, right? But when you are grateful, anywhere you look around you, you have some reason to be grateful for. So my understanding is that if you really want to experience God's love in your life, first, start being grateful for small things. We are easily grateful for big things in life. But how grateful are we for small things in life? When we get up in the morning, are we grateful that we have got an opportunity to wake up? We have another day to live our lives. And when we sleep in the night, are we grateful for everything that God has done for us in that day? When we eat our food, are we grateful that we are getting a meal to eat, and such a tasty meal? So unfortunately, rather than experiencing gratitude, we are moving towards a very critical attitude. And the critical attitude always keeps us wanting and always keeps us you know, feeling a sense of undeservingness or a sense of missing in our lives.
Thank you for that, sir. So Yoshika wants to ask how to be sensitive and forgiving towards a person who isn't sorry or doesn't realize even their mistake while you're hurting. I think that's what she means here.
Insensitive people are like small children. When you pull away a toy from a small child, what happens? The small child is crying like mad. The small child doesn't realize that you're pulling away the toy because that toy is going to hurt them. There is a point or there's some kind of a thing that will hurt them badly. The child just cries because the child feels that something is being taken away from me.
Yeah.
Insensitive people are like small children who are desperately crying for attention. They're thinking that their life is more important than anything else. A small child cannot think of other people. The Srimad Bhagavatam, very interestingly, it begins by talking about, it calls all of us as Jantu. What is the meaning of Jantu? Jantu means a thing, a living entity. It's called a thing. And why is it called, what is the mindset of a Jantu? The mindset of a Jantu is grabbing, taking, pulling for oneself. So if you see a small child that is born, the only thing the small child is thinking, how can I pull? How can I pull for myself? Put it in my mouth, So they're just pulling. The day the living entity actually stretches his hand and feeds his father or mother, that day the Jantu becomes a Jiva. It grows in its consciousness. So most insensitive people are still at the level of Jantu. But someday when they receive a lot of love and affection, and when they see people, even though they have been insensitive towards them, still acting broad-minded and mature, then they understand that I need to grow up from being a Jantu to becoming a Jiva. That is the day when they have actually grown in their consciousness, when their mind is expanded. So don't give up on those Jantus who are insensitive. Please try to elevate them to become Jivas someday so that they can actually.
I think there needs to be a way to like, it's a thing, right? Especially with social media, and it's something I see, and I always struggle to articulate this in the right way. But what it's in relation to the question, a lot of people want to have gratitude. A lot of people will say grateful, gratitude, but it's one thing saying it, it's another thing meaning it, because our lives are so selfish, if I'll say so, that we tend to forget in reality how to be grateful. So what is a practice that, say, in Kali Yuga people can do to actually show gratefulness? What are the simples? Is there a simple thing that people can do?
The simplest thing you can do to experience gratefulness is sit down and every morning spend 5 minutes making a list of things that I want to be grateful for. Interestingly, the first day when you sit, you will not even find one or two things. But as you keep thinking, your list will be so huge that you will run out of papers. Because there is so many things that we are actually grateful for. We should be grateful for. Taking things for granted and taking people for granted is the norm today. And especially in a world that is so artificial, especially the social media world that we are all a part of, and we are living in the social media world, it makes you seek superficial things more than seeking deep things. The social media world is actually creating so much of superficiality in our lives, so much of artificiality in our lives, and so much of ingratitude in our lives. All we have is 1 second to make a person, to get a person's attention. And in 1 second, how can you develop gratitude towards anything and anyone? Usually it's difficult, you know. In 1 second, you can make somebody laugh, you can make somebody smile, you know, with some kind of a gimmick, basically. But in that 2-3 seconds, you cannot touch hearts. Touching hearts requires patience, requires a little bit of energy, little bit of effort.
Yeah.
So in a world that is running towards superficiality and artificialness, gratitude takes a little bit of effort to come. But when it comes, it sorts out a lot of other aspects of your life. It
Yep.
gives a lot of depth and it gives a lot of stability to all other aspects of your life.
And it stops seeking validation, I think, which is the cause of most things on social media, right? The hankering is for validation, right? Like that one like or that one comment.
Absolutely.
Sir, Kaushik says too much serious gyan. Oh my God. Kaushik, I'm glad.
Kaushik, I guess I answered your question.
Yeah, you kind of validated what sir just said. And I'm still happy that you are on the live even after so much gyan. But thank you so much, sir. This was a lot of fun and, as always, very insightful. This is the book, Human Beings, that we all should read. It's called The Ramayan Game of Life. It's a series of 6 books, and they're all magical books. This is the last one which has come. It's called Think Big to Win, which is the Yuddha Kand. My favorite is the Sundar Kand, which is book 5, Radiate Confidence. I will highly recommend, please read it. Shubha Vilas is my favorite author, hands down. So thank you so much, sir, for spending time giving these answers. And I truly hope that you come up with the Mahabharat series soon.
Absolutely, Anshuman. It's on my list, and I'm actually going to be writing a Mahabharat for kids this year. In fact, I'm going to start it right after this discussion. I'm going to be starting,
Right.
and eventually I'll be writing a whole series on Mahabharat. Many books to come.
Lovely, sir. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a kid, so I'll read the kids' version. Okay, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This was lots of fun, and I will see you soon, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for joining in. Meeraji, I know you have been on this live. Very grateful to have you also. And very grateful to have all the others who have been a part of this session. And I'm so grateful to my publisher, Jayco, for having published the entire series. It wouldn't have been possible without their support and help. And I'm very grateful to readers like you, Anshuman, who have made my effort of writing worthwhile by your enthusiasm to read and enthusiasm to share. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for writing. There's Sam, there's Pankaj. Hi. We'll see you guys soon. Happy New Year, everyone.